Hey folks, welcome back to Life After Addiction and Diet. Appreciate you taking the time to be here today. Today, I've got a gentleman who I've really loved watching on social media and learning a little bit about, and I'm so excited to learn more and hear his story. He's got one hell of a story. We all have stories, there's no doubt about it, and this gentleman, Jason Davis, has got some real stuff, and the thing I love about him is he's open, honest, and just says it the way it is. So welcome to the show, Jason. Appreciate your time.
Hey, it's an honor to be here. Thank you much. Appreciate it.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it, man. Talk to us a little bit. Tell me a little bit about, how you grew up and, kind of how you worked through your teen years and kind of when you found yourself, dealing with things that you've kind of given up at this point in your life.
Well, it ended with me crushing against the needle. That's how I know. That was the end story. Getting there, I was a spoiled kid. I was raised in a affluent family that worked real hard. We weren't like super rich, but we were well considered wealthy. My dad worked 3 jobs. My mom was a barber. I had a lot of free time to myself. I'm going through this with my daughter right now, believe it or not.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah, yes. And it's going poorly. But long story short, I had a lot of free time, had a lot of adult conversations, had a lot of adult, I was around adults all the time, and so
yeah.
And so naturally, the thing was, I could think I could do adult things, So I'd roll on the bottle, get on the bottle, and drinking never really was my thing, but that's where it started, in smoking weed. But like I tell you, the first time I smoked weed, that's when my homeboy got 180 feet of ass whooping. She whooped him from the front door to the back of the mobile home and come on back. And I thought, if this is smoking weed, I don't want no part of it, But because
right.
she called it smoking weed, right?
What age did you start that?
8th grade, whatever grade. So 8th grade, I don't know how old you are, 8th grade, but so 5 plus 8, about 13. Yeah, somewhere in that range. I started smoking weed, and and it got, and that how that goes. And went through high school, did a lot of acid, had the glory years, just experimentation, having a good time. And then this guy come to town, and he was getting cocaine in the mail, but he was a little fella. And I'd never done really. I'd sold, I'd maybe done some cocaine at that time or whatever. And long story short, I started bodyguarding for him, and that was right, And so he just starts flooding me with this cocaine. And it went good for about a week, but I can tell you, I still to this day remember my first experience with paranoia. I wasn't paranoid until one day it just happened that I was paranoid, and then so that went to that. Then I went into selling cocaine with other people and other organizations. And then
Jason, real quick, I apologize, I don't mean to interrupt you, but my internet froze up, literally kicked me out, and I just came back in.
Okay.
So I apologize. I lost you when we were literally saying, you started smoking weed in 8th grade.
Okay, so I started smoking weed in 8th grade. Did that, enjoyed the glory years, to high school, doing a little acid, smoking and drinking, having a good time. And then, like I said, I had a run-in with a guy that was getting his cocaine in through the mail, and he was a little guy, and I was always a big guy, and so I started running around him and kind of being a muscle, and that's when I first experienced paranoia, because I'd finally gotten high enough to be paranoid, and I remember the date and place.
Really,
it totally ruined the high, and so I suffered with cocaine, man, for after that point for like 3 years. I would still use and then go, sit, sit on the ground, hide. Couldn't look down all the time.
Wow,
it was terrible. And then I found what I really was looking for when they introduced me to meth. And when I found the meth, that was what made me feel like I needed to be, because the sexual side of meth, which led to me getting caught in the restaurant cutting up an ounce of cocaine. The police looked in.
Really?
Yeah, I had this great restaurant.
Jeez.
Yeah, they were peeking in the windows. They called us, and that was the first trip to prison.
What age were you when that happened?
Oh, I was 26. Yeah, I'd done fought amateurly. I fought in Austin. I fought the Nationals. I had gotten off the cocaine and went to boxing.
Really?
It was doing real well, and I ran into this guy. His name's Dominique Gwynn. We'd fought in the streets, a couple times. Did all right against him. I'll never forget it. I walked to that boxing camp, and he was sitting there eating a bucket of chicken. And he told me, he said, we had a date, and we put them gloves on, and he beat the living hell out of me.
Really?
Oh yeah. That was it. I sparred for years, worked out for them. You know, then I got back on the dope. I never got back in the ring. I got in the ring a couple times, and that was it. But long story short, they caught me cutting up. I had this cleaver. It made the news. And then I went to Little Rock, and then you know, I went to a Motley Crue concert, and had two, you know, I had two black strippers with me. I was the only guy I probably had a black date at Motley Crue concert, and and I told them we walked out. You park under the overpass, you know, a lot of times in concerts, and I was getting in my truck. And the guy said, "You got some of that shit?" I said, "Yeah." And I just put it on the seat, man, and you know, and I got in that car, I got in that truck with them girls. I told them, I said, "What we got?" I don't know why I did this, but I said, "Watch this." There was probably 6 state troopers lined up to go to the exit ramp, and I just did a couple of donuts and act like hell I was just gonna keep on going.
Wow.
So that was the second charge on the first trip. That was 2 Class Y felonies because I wouldn't go to work with them, and that's Class Y felonies 1040 to life. And so
Really?
yeah, and so I got 12 years. I had to do 3 years on that. Got out, was in incredible shape. Got home, come back to my restaurant. My mom and dad had took it over. They were doing about 800,000 annual. I took it to 1.1 million in that first year.
Did you say you got 12 but only did 3?
Yeah, in Arkansas, you get a lot of time on total.
Really?
You do a percentage of it. Like right now, I was sentenced in. Don't give me a line, man. It had to be 13, I think. 13 on. I got 54 years the last time I went to jail. I got 12 years for fleeing. They're really pissed off about that.
Gosh.
But I'd gotten busted 4 times in 5 weeks. And one of them was a bad deal. One of them, the woman that we're in this legal battle with my child and all this, which happens to be her mother, all right, was seeing a buddy of mine that was a cop, okay, but he was a dirty cop, okay. His name was, you look it up, his name was Parliament, okay, and he went to jail for. I knew about this girl, but he was going to Memphis to pick up this 18-year-old stripper, and he went for a picture of a cop car and got busted. And when I was in jail, he came to jail. He went to the feds. He did 5 years. Wow. We were good friends at one time. But long story short, he was screwing my baby's mother. And so one of the charges was bogus, a residential burglary for a house I was paying for. But yeah, they gave me 54 years next time, which concurrently runs down to 15. If you can imagine that.
That's
215. Yeah. So now I did 3 years on that, and I'm on parole now. I got 5 more years left of parole. And I come on home from that. They had
So how long ago did you come home from that? Has it been like 6, 7 years?
I've been home since 16, somewhere. I think 16.
So yeah, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, and so, but when I come home, they had redone the hired county. I was a 309, which state penitentiary will send a guy back to the county jail, get a little more freedom, get to wear a little more clothes, have a little money on you, go to the store once a week. You know, it's a good gig, man. Real good gig. But they had assigned one of the 309s. His name was, I'll call it here in a minute. We call him Peepaw. He was a cabinet builder. And so at the Howard County Jail, right next was the city police station, and they were going to redo the police station. So they pulled up this huge mobile wooden building, you know, like barn you see, these, you know, and they told us, hey, go in there and unload that police station. Well, we unloaded everything in it plus the evidence. And so,
my gosh.
Yeah. Listen, it was crazy. Okay. And so they saw all the evidence out there. And so when I left the jail, let's just say I was dirty. Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit.
My mama picks me up with big hopes and how I'm high as a fruit bat. And then, so that last, I couldn't get off. I ran the restaurant in the ground, man. I had $100,000. I literally ran it right off in the ground with the tax deals around it. They wrapped it with, they had the tax signs on it, foreclosures.
Oh, wow.
It was a pitiful sight because at one time it was the best restaurant in Arkansas. His name was Jason's Burgers and More. I mean, literally, I won a whole bunch of awards, man. Really been on cover of AY magazine.
Just the drugs and everything messed everything. Is that what
I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. I mean, I couldn't handle it. As long as that needle would hit a vein, that was my gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course,
Takes over.
Screwing for 8 hours at a time. 18. A lot of people don't understand that, And so that lasted for a while, and then I got straight for a while. I met a girl that recently was on my TikTok videos, and then I don't know what happened to her, but we did have about 10 months where I was sober, and we restarted Jason. Okay. And I had $45,000, and I spent it all. And they were coming in and they were saying it's the best it's ever been. And long story short, that weekend I looked at my mom. I said, I ain't gonna have enough to make payroll. She said, I believe you got us this time, son. And she gave me like $2,000 or $3,000 to cover the payroll.
Yeah.
And on a Sunday, I went up there. On Sunday we go to a little Mexican food place. We'd have a couple of micheladas, eat real good, and just sleep because we'd be wore out. Work in the restaurant business, work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Monday, I'd go up and do payroll. Have my sous chef up. We have a couple beers. I do all my reductions and stuff, for steaks and all that.
Yeah.
Whatever I was doing that week, and she called. The girl called. I said, well, I got to go get taxes done, pick up my taxes, and I need to go get a shot of testosterone at the doctor, and we'll get a 6-pack of beer. Okay. We was coming back. They called me. They said, hey, you got a burglar alarm. Now look, it's in the middle of July. It's bright daylight. It's 106 degrees. There ain't nobody stealing nothing. Crickets ain't even moving. And when I turned the curve, that some bitch was on fire. It burned up right there in front of me.
Oh man.
Everything I worked towards getting clean towards. And so naturally I get on a high dive and jump off of it with no water in the pool. That's what happens. And wrecked a couple of good jobs. And then we fast forward to May of 20. May 5 is 5/20/21. Yeah, it's 5/20/21. And
okay.
And me and the girl that helps partner me with Fluid English, that does a lot of my designs, we've made amends. Listen, we were like Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson, and everybody bit ears off. It wasn't just one way. And I had relapsed twice. The first time I relapsed with a pound. The second time I relapsed with a kilo. I don't know why. I don't know why that was, but it's how it was. And on the third day, me and her get into it. She goes and tells my mom I'm high. I lose control with her. It was a bad deal. And then I run in the woods. Okay. And the police are out here going to my mom's house. And I'm sitting out there in the woods. It's the middle of July, ticks going on me. I'm sleeping outside. And I got a vacation rentals. I got a nice home. The reason I've done well financially is my parents would not let me fail. They would step in. Okay, they'd step in. Otherwise, I might have learned this shit 30 years ago. I don't know.
Exactly. It's kept enabling.
Well, they're great people.
Absolutely. They love you, man.
I mean, I don't want to be negative in any sense or form about my experience as a child, because they gave me everything. I couldn't handle it.
Yeah,
I couldn't handle it. And so I'm out in the woods, right out here, running in the night trying to talk to my mom. She's like, "Get out of here." Okay. And I'm like, whoa, that ain't right. She's always been, every time I go to prison, she's always been for me.
Yeah.
And then so finally I said, I called my attorney. He said, "You think you can come in straight?" Had a guy get me a hotel room and another name. I went and spent 3 days there, and I got straight. I was surprised I got straight. Gave the other dude my sacks to have them done. Went to jail for 90 days on my only PV I've ever done in my life, parole violation. And I had COVID restrictions. And that meant 23 and 1. That meant 23 hours in the cell for 2 weeks. So it was basically, and I remember coming out, they let you out an hour, and they let so much of the cell block out. It's like, if you came and there was like 6 or 7, maybe 10 people that get out at a time. And it just happened, but I knew everybody. So they would get out and we go shower and use phone. And I'd be talking to people that I knew I'd used with.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "I can't wait to get out, man. I'm going to go score." And I'm like, "Hey, there ain't no way in hell I'm done."
Yeah.
I knew I was done. I gained 70 pounds in county jail in 90 days, maybe 6. I was 320 pounds. I could not see my PP.
Wow.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I lost.
Gee.
I gave up. I come home in September, and man, I went to AA for a year. Worked the steps. I still got a sponsor.
Yeah, that's great.
And it really, I always say, "Man, is it hard?" No, it wasn't really hard. When you're done, you're done.
That's it. I mean, when you're done and you're committed and you've just had enough, you're there.
It just didn't. For a lot of people, man, an addiction, we want to love them to death. We want, and
Absolutely.
and that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I mean, a guy like me, you know, you got to tie me down, throw me off the boat, you know, let me sink, and I get it.
So true, but it's so hard as the parent and loved ones, I mean, but it's so true. That tough love is a tough deal.
That's what changed me. She didn't come see me. She didn't come see
Yeah.
me in jail. She made me pay for my own commissary.
Which is the right thing, honestly, even though it's
Right.
what it takes.
I was like, fuck this.
No kidding.
Well, and she really hammered it into me,
That actually is true love, actually, because that is so brutally hard for the parent, or the spouse, whatever. I mean, it's so hard, but that's doing the right thing to really help them.
I'm dealing with it right now, man. And I think for every addict, when they get straight, the number one worry is, am I going to have to relive this with my kids? Are they going to do the same thing I did? Welcome to the club. That's it. I mean, I've seen some that don't do it, and I've seen a lot that do.
Yep.
Seems
like it's extremes. I haven't seen a lot of middle ground where someone just played around, that had parents or a parent that went through it. They either go all in when they do, or they just won't touch it.
Right. Yeah. It's like kryptonite, Superman.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
They just saw the wreckage and just the misery, and for whatever reason, they just realized that ain't worth it. I wasn't that smart.
It is misery. I don't know what's so fun about misery, but boy, for like 30 years, it was all I could handle.
Exactly. Yeah.
When I ran out of veins, okay, that was a dark period in my life. That was probably when I probably was closest to death, because I would just try osmosis, or I'd sit there and jack my arm or my neck or my feet or over and over and over it for hours, And recently I had surgery, and they're like, there ain't no way in hell you can get IV in me, man.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I ruined it. It's my fault, but thanks to medical science, we got ultrasound and all that. It don't take no time.
Yeah.
But get them to believe that, you got to get stuck about 10 times, and about that. Well, you're telling me the truth. Yeah, I know I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
What about your story?
So you ended up, just being done, right? And then at that point, obviously you had the entrepreneurial gene in you, and you've been very successful. Because my audience, they're typically people who, have had some roadblock, whether it's addiction, indictment, doesn't matter what addiction, or just any sort of trauma that basically they've lost their confidence and fear, whatever it is, and they just don't feel like they can do it. And so it's kind of to help them bring guys like you, my story, and, all sorts of other guests, entrepreneurs, mindset folks, just to give them insights, and so that they can reclaim their life basically through entrepreneurship. Because, as a felon, work can be very difficult, unless you know somebody that kind of helps you out, or certain companies, like me, I would, sometimes those can be the best employees if you know what you're doing, the hireman stuff, but overall it can put that scarlet letter on you. It can make things tough, but with entrepreneurship, it gives us the ability to, control our life. Doesn't mean it's easy, but I think so many people are afraid to chase their dream, for many different reasons, fear of failure, whatever. There are tons of different reasons, lack of confidence. So like with your experience and, the successes you've had and what you're doing now, I mean, what have been some of the things that, besides just hustle and hard work, what are some of the things from your experience that, have really helped you with your, businesses and the things that, you're finding success in, and obviously what you're doing now?
There is this thing we talk about when we talk about the zero opportunity or the zero choice, type deal, where like I go from, we'll all say, what if I do something? What if I, and so in me, when I'm dealing with risk in situations like you're talking about, fear, hey man, I need this trailer, man, but I don't have the money. It's becomes. Here's the question I ask myself: what if I don't do it?
Bingo.
Yeah, and so what if I don't do it? And so risk and fear and putting yourself, what if I don't do the podcast?
Yeah.
But does the brand grow? Do I get to fulfill my purpose? Because the greatest thing I can do in the morning is wake up with some sense of purpose.
Bingo.
And if all that alignment comes in, I have been successful in the sense of how we consider successful. And are you in the black? Yeah, I'm in the black. Are you running a construction company, vacation rental, and then we're starting I speak and write a podcast, speak and do a blog with the apparel company. Now, no shameless plug shit or anything like that, but I'm just saying that that's all came in 2 years.
Yeah.
Less than 2 years. And so when I started listening to people like I want to, like we were talking earlier, Arte or Andy or Ed, or I constantly put that in my life because I got to have some comparison. Because all I know, man, is I had some success. I saved a little money, all blah, blah, blah. But all really I ever knew was drug dealers.
Yeah.
And so I had to get around people that weren't dealing drugs to figure out what was right with my thinking.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know, I was trying. So you experience this when you start getting going, and business is the sport. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the sport I play.
Yeah.
I like it. You get to do things in business that you used to do in the drug world. I mean, you really can. I mean, when you take over a business or acquisition or a merger, if you do that in the real world, they're like, hey, we're gonna put you in jail. But in the world of business, everybody goes,
yeah. So
it's a
great perspective. Yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, it's just legal now. And so it's thrilling to me to do it. Matter of fact, it's like I'm addicted to it.
Yeah.
It's just a new addiction.
Changing one for the other. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You said a couple of things that I think are really powerful. Obviously, doing something with a purpose, and because, getting up every day and going through the motions, that ain't any fun. I don't care who you are. You're just lying to yourself. You think that's the way to live, you're cheating yourself, so you got to really find out what it is that fulfills you, which if you find a purpose, that will typically do that. And so, your purpose, you're doing a lot of different things in business, but it looks to me with some of the things that I've read, you're also doing some things to try to really give back.
Yes. That's what I really want to do.
Bingo.
Those cliche that, hey, the best, money's good and the money's great, but really helping others is the best thing. I thought that was a cliche.
It's 100% truth, dude.
It's absolutely. Once it happens, it's another high. Well, you got to be consistent enough with it to expose yourself, to get real with people. The toughest video I made some really tough videos. Okay, the one that really hammered me for a while was, for the longest time, I had this girl, the one that helps me. She knew I'd slept with my drug dealer. He's a dude. Okay, I'd hammer this dude off, and he'd hammer me back. Okay, and everybody in the little town knew. And they would. I'm a big dude. I'm tough. Mean. I think I got 75 court appearances, right, on my list. And so,
holy crap.
So it was real tough for me she was telling, because she got mad because I done it, blah, blah, blah. And the toughest video I made was when I told the whole world, hey man, I slept with my drug dealer. And when I did that, dude, the comments, you can imagine the comments. But what I took away from that is, hey, you can't hurt me, man.
No doubt.
And so
that's talking about owning your power, man.
And so when you tell you, what you do is you take those negative comments, you ball them up, you set them right here. So you got a little chip on your shoulder, and every little adversity, you go back and you just look at them. Yep, I'm gonna punch this shit down your throat. When you turn on your TV, you're gonna see me on this video. And I'm not gonna stop.
That's powerful. What kind of, let's talk a little about that, because I know you've been learning that game as far as marketing and social media and stuff. What did that video do? Forget the comments, but as far as, I guess, virality, or did it get traction? Did people, did it go viral? Yeah. It's like they say,
I think the comment I said was, I got to blowing up his back and he got to blowing up mine. And there was a whole bunch of duets on TikTok with that just that one piece, you know. You know, it doesn't even, it took me a few weeks to swallow it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll bet.
I mean, you know, in case, you know, I've wore them out. I used to get a lot of comments, and I've been grateful to have like 180,000 followers on TikTok. You know, with over almost 1.4 likes or whatever. And TikTok's been really good to me. I don't, you know, if the Chinese is spying on me, man.
That's right.
You know, I mean, I know it's been a quick way. It's been a quick way to build a following. And you know, I don't know, man. You get scared. You know, especially if you're coming out of prison, or hey, you know, you just told your wife, hey, man, I got this problem. You know, like she didn't know. You know?
Yeah. Exactly. That's the story we tell ourselves.
Yeah. And so, you know, you line up, and if you're a real man or woman, you say, look, I need to go get away for a little while, go do some treatment, you know, and you come back out of that and you got this, you know, this internal stuff. And the best thing you can do is get on the roof and say, hey, I went to rehab, you know, and let's get to work, because that's going to free you up.
100%.
You know, am I gay? Well, I might have been a couple times, you know what I mean? We didn't kiss. That's the main thing. You know, if you kiss, it's gay.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
You know, and that's what drugs will do to you, though. You know, you'll lose, you know,
all sense of everything.
Listen, you know, there's nothing worse than being in that environment where, you know, she's gotten high and y'all are both naked, right? You know, and she's laying like in my home, the bed would be right over here, you know, and I'd be about 10 feet away, still trying to get high, over and over again in my arm. I mean, and then the frustration and panic, you know, and then clog needles, drawing, you know, blood's clogged, blood's all over the floor, blood's all over me. I'm butt naked, crying, pissed off, done thrown a couple things. So by the time I finally get it, she's like,
yeah.
By the time I get my fix, I've done wore out everything. That's dope, man.
Yeah, that's no doubt about it.
You get all the work, all the pain, all the suffering, but you just don't get the prize.
Yeah. It's and the stories that we tell ourselves what we're doing are just unbelievable, you know. Yeah,
you know, it's a business. You know, you join up. I'm probably talking to you to death. I apologize, but
no.
Get back to your question about how that ties into being an entrepreneur. You know, if I can do it, anybody can. You know, and the open, we like to think that America has no discrimination. You know, we got equality, we got people that are gender studies. Listen, the only legal discrimination in America is the American felon. That's it.
Yeah.
That is a legal discrimination. You know, I don't care if you finish your sentence, you're still pick up a gun and see what happens.
No kidding.
And so I've got people right now dealing with that. They were just in a variable situation. And so I think we need to reform that greatly, because I think we need to get back to the small business America. And if you're a felon, you know, and like me, I got to get a pardon, even though it's a nonviolent crime. Okay. But for the base course of people make mistakes.
Well, that's the thing. Like you said, you know, if we do a crime, we get sentenced, we do the time. That's where it should be done.
Right.
You know, there's accountability. You pay the consequence, but you shouldn't have to pay it for life. Just like me, you know, no gun for the rest of my life. That's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, what if your mortgage worked that way?
Yeah. No kidding.
Your car payment.
No kidding.
You'd be like, this is bull. You know, and so it's time. That's where later, as I get the numbers and the mobility, because the reason why we get the money in entrepreneurship is not to sit around and gloat in our little world or a little fancy world. We get the money so we can change the world.
Bingo. It allows you to do things. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you get the money, then you can push the initiative for a class of people that are openly discriminated against.
Yeah.
That no one gives a damn about it. You're at the black box.
Yeah.
So
true.
Yeah.
So what?
I mean, it's terrible.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I mean, I'm all for it. You know, I'd love to get involved, do anything, you know, to try to make a difference in getting some of that reform, because it is so needed. It's ridiculous.
It's terrible. And the problem is, if you're in that if you're one of those numbers, and let's get real, let's get this straight. Hey, I did it.
Yeah.
If you caught me doing half the stuff that I didn't get caught,
Yeah.
I would hang me at the tree. Okay. So let's get that established. I earned every bit of it. But it's like you said, there's got to be a price point injection of this stuff. There's got to be into the installment plans, and there ain't. And so you've got a limited number of people, a large part of society, that can't ever get up to get heard or the money to influence. And these are Americans. These ain't people these are people in your own country, your neighbors. And so what do we do about that? I don't, everyone's scared of March after January 6th, but I'm all for March. I mean, maybe we just go around the Capitol.
Yeah, that to me, that's a trust me, I'd love to go down that rabbit hole with you sometime, because that's a whole, that's what it's going to take. What it's going to take.
Yeah, it's going to take that kind of action, and here's, I mean, the legislature, the man that makes the laws that we can't vote for, have no problem collecting our tax money.
Right.
So really, a felon is like back in 1776, man. We just need to go back there and get the Tea Party going, because we're at a point now where there's taxation, where there's no representation.
100%, no doubt.
And these are people that are in all our families. There's a lot of people that hide behind it. I got a felon.
That's what I love about you, is you're so honest and open about it, because that's the way I've been. I mean, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be able to help anybody, is dealing with this stuff if no one's willing to talk about it and be open about it. I mean, it's part of our lives. What's there to hide?
No, it gets to the point. It gets, and they shame you, and or cancel culture. You got you're a felon that slid into a pretty good, decent job. One word. Well, maybe it's time to change careers. Maybe God's calling you. Maybe God's calling out of you. And that's the coefficient we haven't talked about, is where does God play in this whole scenario? Listen, if you ain't got faith, you ain't got nothing.
Bingo. Amen.
However you want to call it, however you want to do it. I'll talk a lot about God and the universe and Jesus and and all that. Some people have a different faith. I don't care. That's not my deal. Some people like having sex. How they like having sex. I don't care about that. I just don't want you sexualizing our children. That's
Bingo. Bingo.
I mean, any normal or not normal. Okay, they don't need to know that. They need to know how to do a checkbook and change a tire and
exactly.
This is what they need, real consequence training. Like, hey, if you do this and you get a felon, this is what happens.
Exactly.
The rest of your life. They don't tell you that.
Exactly. Everything they were taught in school, and even you and I were taught in school, didn't do anything to benefit us, honestly. And what's been taught the last 5 years, specifically last 2 to 3, it's absolutely sickening. It's totally sick. I mean,
making us a strong nation.
If I had kids that were still going to school, there's no way in hell I'd let them go. Or I'd be down there.
I'm dealing with the whole thing. No.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts,
well, talk to us a little bit about your apparel business that you got started and going. And
we just started. I didn't know nothing about shop for guys wanting to do online apparel or shop stores. You can set up a Shopify store and then link it to a print-on-demand company. Ryan Williams, who does Threadworks Inc. This is one of the beautiful things about our tape, shameless plug. You meet a lot of people that have done all this, and they'll tell you how to do it. And so we knew we had the numbers for exposure through,
through your following.
And so we started pumping out merchandise. Have we sold a lot of merchandise? I found out that people talk a lot about buying merchandise they don't buy. But we've yet to, I'm still waiting on the samples. We just launched it this week, actually. And
really?
Yes.
So you're doing the print-on-demand model, right?
Yeah, doing a print-on-demand.
Then you don't have the
model.
risk of all the inventory.
Right. What you do is you build a data set, from the sizing, and so if you sell 1,000 shirts or 100 shirts, you can look at it pretty much. Then you can get someone else that print them, and then you can store them and start doing your own shipping.
Exactly.
Based on the numbers.
Yeah. So you eliminate some of the risk.
Well, you'll hear people talk about testing the market, especially with drop shipping and getting a product and testing the market. Well, this is kind of like how you do it. It's just you use a little Shopify stuff and see if it sells. And if it don't sell, you cut that out.
Yeah.
And so it's been really challenging. And been, of course, building content. When you have a website like a Shopify account or another, Google's going to scan through that. And if you're not putting content on it, like my construction site's terrible. It's just pictures, and all that. But what I've learned to get SEO scores, I don't know much about SEO, but I do know this: that if you add a blog piece to your web, your web page, if it's just once a month, your site will pick up traction. Especially if you put it like, if you put in my business, the apparel business, it's not really geographic specific, but like when I redo my Jason's construction, I start blogging there, I'll put locations in the blog pieces so that when people search for excavation,
that specific area,
bam, it'll come on up. And these are just small, you can take a lot of small pieces and you build a hell of a castle.
Absolutely.
And so this is what the motivation, because I talk to a lot of people, man, a lot of people there. What I do, and the most important thing you can do in the morning is thank God that you're alive, find a purpose, and then sit down on a computer and watch that motivational stuff. Find you someone that you identify with. I mean, it works. I mean, that's all. You listen to it 30 days. You'll be out there doing lawn mowing and everything else, and in the evenings coming up with somebody, and especially when you read. We in 75 Hard we read 10. We read 10 pages.
Yeah.
When I read, my mind, my creative power, it just, I have these 2 or 3 thoughts, because I keep thinking I'm gonna run out of material.
Yeah, that's it. You just read stuff, and that's where you get ideas to jog ideas to create material. Absolutely.
I got a fear, man. I'm like, when am I going to, because I've done a lot of videos, man. I'm like, when am I going to run out? I've yet to reloop, you know what I mean? But
repurpose it. Yeah. That's phenomenal though. But I think one thing you said that to me is so powerful that most people totally undervalue. And that is, you mentioned it even when you said God or energy, so when you're talking about listening to those videos or reading, it's what is it that is resonating and from a positive standpoint, so that you're moving around and being a positive person. That gratitude is a huge thing. It's because whatever we're thinking about the most, or the people around the most, is what we're going to get the most of.
Exactly.
And that's the key. Yeah. I mean, to me, that is the key that most people don't even have a clue. Right. And they wonder why they struggle, but they sit all day and they're negative and complain about everything.
I was one of them. I was there.
I've been that at times. Absolutely. That's what kind of got me doing this, honestly, because when I came out of prison, I literally struggled for 8 years, and I was very successful before. And then it was all just lack of confidence and, thinking that I got to where I got the first time overnight, which was not the case, obviously, but I forget a lot of that, Right. And then once you've done pretty well and had time freedom, been able to do what you want, and when you do travel, you stay in decent places and stuff like that, what it's like. So you don't, if you've never been there, you don't know. So it's not as big a deal.
Right.
And, so I struggled with realizing, hey man, it's right between my ears. Until I fix that, no one's coming to save me. So I got to friggin' fix this stuff or I'm screwed. And I did. I spent, 8 years just kind of being a victim in a sense, and, wasting tons of money on courses and masterminds and all that stuff, but not willing to see what the real problem was.
Right. They call us success zombies. You saw it, you keep it. I just read every book, but they never, you got to step out on the ground. You know what I mean? You eventually you got to, and that is another thing. Look, if you're struggling with what am I going to do? How about this? How about you just do it?
Yeah.
And figure, jump off the cliff, and then as you're going,
figure it out on the way down. Yeah.
Go some ways.
Right.
That's because that's how everybody does it.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks that people are super successful. Oh, they got superpowers, or they got they made the decision, they went with it. And here's the typical key, and I know you agree with this. Don't quit, and do not make the same mistake again, and you'll be super successful.
Yeah.
If you can learn from your mistakes and not do them again, hey, if you realize that syringe or that pipe or that spoon or that alcohol or whatever your problem is, if it's if it's sex, gambling, if it's food, or whatever it is, because you get sucked in on all this stuff in your life. Yep. And you say, okay, I've had enough. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can understand if you do not make that mistake again, that skill set is valuable to somebody.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You know, that's when you're walking around, you just roam like Job when he was roaming around for 8 years going, oh, well, I've been there. I get it. You know, I don't know. And then one day, one day I was sitting there and, you know, a thunderbolt hit me and it just happened. But if it wasn't for me running around going, what? Or being the victim or, because I did all that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Your superpowers really are the trial you went through. You know, your disadvantages, you got to learn to turn them into your advantages.
Right.
You know, because if we take what we had learned, you know, or looked back at the experience we've been through and really be honest and learn from it, well, that right there gives you the ability to help other people learn so they don't have to go through what you've been through. And, you know, that's what everybody wants is how they can get from where they're at to where they want to go, you know, the quickest without making all the mistakes.
Right.
And so I think that's what you're doing with, you know, Andy and Ed's organization is, you know, you're getting with people who, you know, the network's huge. And then you got so many resources to help guide you that you don't have to figure out what the best print on demand company is or, you know, how to do this or that. You just ask questions and people love to help people, especially
That's
when you're
true.
in a group of, you know,
absolutely. But I've found it. That's very true. That's real true. Okay. The organization, and that's not a plug or nothing like that, but you're right. People traditionally want to help other people.
We both said it because that's what fulfills us when we do that. You know?
Yeah. But the majority of time, the people that are asking for the help don't really want to be helped. You know what I mean?
I'm guilty.
Yeah. So I
do, but I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I tell you, I eat chicken breast and brown rice for the majority of my meals, and I stay at home and go to the gym, or you know, and you know, that's why I don't go rent fast cars and make videos. My life is real simple, you know. But my purpose and my exposure and the people I help and my gratitude and you know, when I wake up, man, you know, I don't wake up with like I wake up. It's pretty serious business me waking up, you know, because I got a lot of stuff to do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's changed the world. You know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you obviously, you know, became very intentional about what you wanted to do, and that's what it takes, you know. Otherwise, we're just going through the motions and getting what we're getting, you know.
Right.
You know, so many of the times we're wondering why we can't have the life that Jason's got. Why can't we have a following like Jason? You know, but you got to put in the work too.
Well, the law of attraction, like he was saying, you know, you get around, what you begin to believe or happen. I'm not saying I'm gonna go out here and manifest $1 million, okay?
Right.
But you know, when I sit down and I really start looking at, you know, I guess the best way to explain it is the past. You know, when I was about drugs, that's all I attracted was people that did drugs.
True,
and so if I know that, because I really don't know where I'm going, I really don't know what I really want to do. I struggle with all the questions that everybody else does, but I just know this: all you gotta do is it'll work its way out. You just go, you just keep on going.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
It was Andy actually. I was listening to his podcast I think just 2 days ago, and he was talking about how when he started to learn about manifesting, and he literally envisioned, you know, his Lamborghini and the smell of it and all that. Because when The Secret came out, whatever it was, you know, 18, 20 years ago, whatever it was, I totally bought into it. But there's a big difference between, you know, kind of thinking it, if you don't like literally tie that extra like emotion to it, you know, that's like the next level to where it really starts to work.
Once it happens, it's over.
Oh yeah.
One time though, I'll tell you, when you start when you have that moment, you go, this is really happening.
Dude, no question.
It's better than any drug I ever done. You know, that first hit of crack, probably the best hit of anything you ever do. That one hit, that first hit, that's it. Okay, but that one hit, but it's even better than that. You know?
Yeah. But yeah, by doing that, you know, it's crazy, you know, how it does work. Because I was with a group that I was involved with, a bunch of different guys. It's been about 5 years ago now. And, you know, I'd heard this stuff but, you know, implementing is a totally different thing, you know,
Yeah.
And when I finally did create literally, kind of, I call it a conscious self-creation statement where I'm literally talking about I am, I have, and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying that every single day, I got to where I memorized it. But you also think about, man, you visualize being there. And I think what you said, you don't have to worry about how it's going to happen. Forget that, because that'll just stress you out. It doesn't matter. If you just
it doesn't.
Visualize it, everything just seems to just fall in, the people come into your life, or, you learn about something that you didn't know that's a big key piece. It's just, anyway, it's crazy because I've lived it, and, there's times I've regressed, What's that?
It's nothing short of crazy. When you're butt naked and you're looking at that mirror and you're telling the mirror, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to be the best speaker in the world. Hey, I'm going to give away $10 million to go." I mean, I'm talking this, and I just had this. It was a bad relationship. It failed. I wanted it to work, but I'm butt naked in the mirror. I ain't seen her in years. We're fixing it. We're going the distance. We made up our mind. Hey, and I'm in there talking to the mirror, and she's having to listen to it. And I'm not giving up. I'm just hammering it.
Yeah. That's all. That's commitment right there.
hey, she left.
Oh,
for sure, man. For
That's
sure, it really
funny.
happened. Yeah, that mirror's powerful.
Yeah. So, what are your kind of some final words of wisdom based on your life experience, where you've been, where you're at and where you're going, that, would benefit those who are listening?
And I've been in some dark places, but I think the majority of people in life have some experience in darkness, and you combine that with faith and you're in what you want out of life. And like we was talking, if you can visualize it, then you got kind of a point of where you want to go. And if you quit worrying about the how and just put in the effort, well, it'll happen, and so God plays a big part in that. A lot of people want to, when we talk about the universal law of attractions and reciprocity, and, there's a big God thing in that. And so I think the first thing in your life you got to come to terms with is that you're a creation. And so life's breathed into you, your time's limited. What are you going to do with that? And that your faith that there's something bigger than you is what leads to the potential that you really have this dynamic view of what's possible. When you start seeing the things in life, like we're talking about, that everyone thinks is crazy, right?
Yeah.
When you really experience a miracle because somebody was praying for you,
Yeah.
Then you evolve to this other being. You're like this. You're. And so my last words to people, man, is that you've got to have a deep sense of you can't hurt me no more. If you're fighting with that, if you think you're scared, you really got to get out there and throw the hammer. And then that throwing the hammer, what happens after that, you got to assess that as a skill that you're learning, because eventually you'll get to a point where like you're valued because nothing seems to bother you. Dope doesn't bother you. Hey, girls and whatever it is but it's in your life, and you get where like the life is so mature and rich and valued in your purpose that the things that once destroyed you are now the things that built you.
That's it. That is beautiful, dude. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect place to stop. Well, I appreciate your time, Jason.
I appreciate you.
I'll thank you. I'll have, all your contact information in the show notes. Is there anywhere else that people can find you besides the social and your website?
You can find me at fluidenglish.us. And then of course I'm on Jason with a Felony and Jason Scott Davis on Facebook, and Jason with a Felony on every other thing, I give people my phone number. I went through 2 accounts on TikTok for PIN. I didn't like too much public information. I put my phone number on my videos.
That's awesome. Doxing yourself.
Oh my God. Hey, this thing's going to get spammed to death. I said, I didn't know. I ran it like a business,
Yeah, exactly. That's great. That's actually such a great point though, really, because that's a great example of just taking action. Doesn't matter if right, wrong, or indifferent. you know?
Everybody was screaming, "This dude's an idiot. This dude's an idiot. This dude's an idiot." And,
Hey.
they kept on blocking my videos and I'd lose my account. I was like, finally, I read the rules. You can't put your phone number on the screen because I'd be advertising big, talking about what I'll be talking about. People be calling me.
That's fantastic. All right, brother. Well, thanks again. I'll keep in touch with you. I appreciate your time and
Please do.
have a
Please
great
do. God bless
afternoon.
you.
Yeah, I'll do, man. Take it easy.